The winter brings its own challenges. Shoveling snow becomes part of your everyday routine. You're putting on extra layers and you're eating cold lunches. It may not be easy, but I'm okay with not easy. But every once in a while, the plumbing gods throw an easy day at you, and who are you to deny the plumbing gods of what they want? And this vlog is an example of that. For our first job, we're replacing a new toilet seat. One thing that I have to confess is that my biggest pet peeve in plumbing is wobbly toilet seats. So if I ever walk into a unit and I notice a wobbly toilet seat, I absolutely have to tighten it. This is a quirk I developed over many years as a plumber, and now I can't shake it. I've done this in public restrooms, in friends' houses. I will literally walk into the living room and interrupt a fascinating conversation just to ask for a screwdriver. I get weird looks, but deep down I know that everyone will appreciate that I did it.
Και τα δύο κάθονται. Καλύτερα.
Yeah. This next job is a slow filling tank. Now I know it may sound simple to you if you've replaced a fill valve before, but in this circumstance I ran into something that I've seen in the past that I didn't fully understand the function of. So in the middle portion of this video I'd like to demystify this together. But basically fill valves can be pretty straightforward. Make sure the water is off and have a bucket ready when you have to take out the old fill valve, because there's always leftover water in the tank. Whenever we replace a fill valve, we always replace the supply line as well. Supply lines are some of the biggest insurance claims according to our insurance broker, so it's never a bad idea to update the supply line as much as possible. Alright, and just like that, we did a couple of service calls right there. What you saw me do was replace a toilet seat. This toilet seat that was there was basically broke bad. Like, only the bolts that were connected and mounted to the toilet seat were left hanging. The rest of the toilet seat had fallen over, so I had to get rid of those. Put in a new toilet seat. The difference in toilet seats are, of course, the new one that I put in is a soft closing toilet seat. So if you tip it over, it's gonna slowly come to a shut, rather than your older versions. You can still buy versions like this where you just tip them over and they come down with gravity hard. That's the big difference. It's a little bit more expensive, but it was the right product for this customer, so I was happy to do that. The second thing that you saw me do was put in a new fill valve. I went upstairs previously to this and I tampered with the previous fill valve, the previous flapper, and also the previous supply line. Give me a sec. Alright, so here's what I gotta talk to you about. This is the supply line that was initially there. Do you see this piece right here? This piece right here that's focused on, I don't know what this is called. I'm gonna put it right down here in the video. You'll see some wording here. We've had a situation that we ran into in the past, and we had done a riser shutdown, and for some reason this malfunctioned, and it was the only water closet on that line that we shut that had a problem. So when we came in and swapped out this type of supply line for a regular supply line, the water closet was working perfectly fine. Alrighty peeps, I wanted to pop into the studio and talk about what this supply line is, what its function is, and how it works, and how it's different from regular supply lines that we typically put inside. This, as we have said before, is called a flood safe supply line. This is made by Watts, and I'm not sure if there are other ones on the market that are just like this, but I definitely know Watts makes them. And we're going to be looking at a couple of sources from Watts. I will link everything down in the description below. That way you can watch it and view it firsthand. We're going to be looking at one pamphlet, and we're going to also be looking at a video, but I will not be posting the audio of the video. That way I don't get copyright strikes on this channel right here. Now the reason why I had to bring this up in the first place is because when I first came to this water closet where I changed the fill valve, the first question that came to my mind is it the flood safe that's causing such a slow fill of water, or is it the fill valve? So I initially ended up swapping this out just to eventually realize, oh, it's not the flood safe supply line, it's actually the fill valve. Let's talk about flood safe and what this is Let's go. So prevent catastrophic water damage with Watts Flood Safe Auto Shutoff Connector. Watts is pleased to introduce its new line of Flood Safe Auto Shutoff Connectors. The Flood Safe's patented design protects against catastrophic water damage caused by burst, broken, or ruptured water supply hoses and fittings. Flood Safe connectors include a standard braided stainless steel flexible hose and a Flood Safe shutoff device located on the inlet. I do want to say that this makes a lot of sense to me, that there is something on the market that protects against these ruptures, because I've seen plenty of them in the past as a service plumber, so I understand why Watts would go through the motion of creating something this cool. And I have to be honest, through the video footage you're about to see, and I'm seeing it firsthand, these things actually work. We just need to now consider what might be the best application for this. In other words, who might be the best customer for this type of supply line, okay? Solution is that you can put in one of these Flood Safe Auto Shutoff connectors, which protect against these catastrophic water damages by automatically shutting off the water supply to plumbing fixtures and appliances if excess water flow is sensed. So essentially, through the video we're about to see, the way I understand it, factory set fixtures are supposed to discharge or flow at 2.2 gallons per minute, something like that. This Flood Safe is calibrated for 2.8 gallons per minute. In other words, if it reaches or exceeds 2.8 gallons per minute, this is going to activate. It's going to shut the water to the fixture. And the reason why they gave a little bit of buffer was in case there is some sort of fluctuation in the pressure in the system. That sometimes happens. Sometimes the city ups the pressure, downs the pressure. So they didn't want to accidentally have this activate on a fixture that's working totally fine. But if it exceeds 2.8 gallons per minute, this will activate, shutting all water to the fixture, resetting the Flood Safe connector. This is a big deal. I'm glad I'm learning it now. I wish I knew it a bit in the past. First of all, to install, you turn off the water supply at the shutoff, remove old supply connector, install the end connection of the Flood Safe. Now, to reactivate flow of water in the fixture, close the shutoff valve to shut the water supply to the Flood Safe connector. Disconnect the Flood Safe at the shutoff valve. This will automatically reset the Flood Safe device and then reconnect the Flood Safe according to the installation instructions, and turn on water supply to fully open position. Check for leaks. Now, here's one more thing I have to stipulate, which is really crucial information. Important. Removing the faucet aerator or flow restrictor may cause the Flood Safe to activate, shutting off flow to the faucet. Here's where it starts to get a little bit more nuanced, and this sort of helps me in deciding where I put these in. As I already stipulated, when we noticed the Flood Safe activate, it was when we started putting water back into the system, into the riser that we currently shut off. So obviously, us filling up the riser went way faster than 2.8 gallons per minute, and it made this activate. So that's a little bit of a tricky situation, because now all the other water closets on the very same line did not activate because they had a regular supply line, and this one had the Flood Safe, and it was the only one that activated. So now the question becomes, whose fault is this? Is it the fault of the plumber who was simply doing their job, or is it the fault of the Flood Safe? Who gets pinged for that? Number two is, it's a fairly simple fix to reset the Flood Safe. All you have to do is shut the valve, unthread this, take this entirely off, and upon taking it off, it will reset on its own. The question becomes, do you feel comfortable charging the customer for less than a 5-minute call? Now, for some plumbers out there, this is an obvious yes, of course. I drove there, I demand my minimum charge or whatever you normally charge for that. But I can see that in the near future, it's gonna get a little bit awkward, especially if you have to shut that riser more than once in the month. For example, if there are multiple things going on in that very same riser and you have to shut it off multiple times, every single time, you're gonna have to come over and you're gonna have to reset this Flood Safe, which is gonna be a little bit irritating for you and also the customer, especially if you are charging for that. And if this is something you drove out for, of course, you are sort of obligated to charge, because you still have to upkeep your truck charge. You have to make sure that you have gas, you make sure you cover insurance, etc. And here's what I want to sort of stipulate. If your aerator, if you take off the aerator and that allows the fixture to exceed 2.8 gallons per minute, then there's potential for other things to happen to make this thing activate. I think this is the perfect sort of product for a homeowner that's also handy. A homeowner that understands that every once in a while you might have a misfire of the Flood Safe. So all they have to do is shut the valves and then reset it the way we already described previously. But I do find it'll be a little bit
frustrating for the homeowner that doesn't know how to do that because they have to call a plumber in every single time this activates. So here's what I think. I think the moment I see a flood safe, I have to explain to the customer exactly what kind of device it is, first of all. And then subsequently, I have to ask, do they want me to reset it or do they want me to replace it? And the reason why I need to ask this is because I might shut that riser again. And if I shut that riser again and they're the only one that has the same problem with this flood safe, then it's going to be a little bit awkward for them because they have to make sure that they are there when I do that riser shutdown, or they got to make sure that they gave the superintendent permission to let me in. And again, that's still my time and that's still my effort. I think for the regular homeowner that doesn't know how to reset these and doesn't feel comfortable resetting them, they're not sort of designed for that customer or homeowner in mind. I think they're better designed for the homeowner that understands their function, understands how they work, and feels comfortable going ahead and resetting them if they ever activate, in other words. So here's the last thing that I want to show you because I still think it's a really cool device and it's something that I don't mind putting in my house because I understand how to reset it if I need to reset it, and that's it in action. Take a look. This is a regular supply line that they're about to cut. This is the sort of water damage that'll occur if it cuts, breaks, or ruptures. Now, here's what you have to know. Only a few weeks back, I've seen one of these supply lines snap in half. It just snapped in half. And luckily the homeowners were home and were able to shut the water, but it was still enough water to come down to the floor below and cause some damage to the ceiling. So here it is in action. This is not a flood safe supply line. This is just a regular supply line. Cut, ruptured, there you go. Got some nasty damage there. Now let's take a look at it in action. By the way, this is a Watts video, so this will be down in the description below. Flood safe in action. That way you can hear it with audio if you wanted to as well. Snap it. Ba-bam. It shuts automatically. How cool is that? Listen, it's a really cool safety mechanism. It's something that I'm contemplating putting into my house just for extra safety features. But again, you have to commit to being patient with it if it does activate when it shouldn't activate, and you also have to be handy enough to be able to take this off and reset it whenever you need. That was a lengthy explanation for why I brought up the flood safe, but I learned a lot. I didn't know there was a reset mechanism. When I first saw it and its function was explained to me, it was explained entirely differently than what I understood off of this. It's really cool under action, and for the right person, I think it's the right product. Peeps, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share with friends, and enjoy the rest of the vlog. This next job is an example of something I wish the average homeowner knew how to take care of. And if this was a building I was already servicing that day and I walked into this unit and I saw it, I probably wouldn't have asked for any money at all. So the story goes is the lady's husband tampered with the drain a few days before and it was now leaking. Unfortunately, there was absolutely nothing wrong with the drain. Turns out everything was just loose. So here's my game plan whenever I'm searching for a leak under a sink. I first make sure to dry everything and tighten everything that looks suspicious. Then I run some water. The water will eventually show me if something's wrong. I tighten or address anything that I see after that, and if I don't see any other problems, I verify by pressurizing the drain. You see, drains are sort of like relationships. You can only understand their true value under real pressure. Just like humans, they either buckle or they stand their ground and show their strength. This is pressurizing the drain. It basically is discharging the maximum amount of water that the fixture is designed to handle. It will show you all the weaknesses of the drain, so make sure you're ready to plug the drain if anything shows up. If after pressurizing the drain everything looks good, rest assured you have a drain that is sound. Peeps, thanks for the love and support. Do me a favor, let me know down in the comments below what your thoughts are on flood-safe supply lines. Do you like them? Do you hate them? Do you install them? Do you take them out right away? I want to know exactly what your experiences are if you've ever run into them. Like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you plumbers very soon. Kenny Molotov, guys. Peace, baby.